Act 3, Scene 1. The scene takes place in the street in Rome. Communist thinks that the Volscians are too exhausted to raise up an army and start to fight against Rome again. Coriolanus wants to find out the whereabouts of Ophidius, and he is informed by Latius that he had hurriedly signed the peace agreement and has rushed off to Antium. Coriolanus wishes that he might meet him there so that they don't finish business between the two. Nevertheless, Latius makes him to understand the hatred that Ophidius has for him. The tribunes enter and greet them in a displeasurable manner while announcing that the plebeians have withdrawn their support to Coriolanus to become the consul of Rome. Coriolanus knows that this is a play or conflict of power and wants the Senate that if they allow this to succeed, they will never truly exert power over the plebeians anymore. Coriolanus accuses Brutus and Sisinnius for putting the people up to this new change of idea because they are the mouths of the people and they control whatever thing the people say or do. Brutus and Sisinnius continue to attack Coriolanus' character, which they think is the reason why the commoners do not want him to become the consul general. Coriolanus is afraid that if Rome is ruled by two powers of equal strength, then the city will fall into chaos. Earlier on, he had shown his disapproval of the fact that the Senate had given authority for plebeians to select 5 representatives to speak on their behalf in the Senate. And he had already warned that this is paving way for future insurrection and rebellion. The focus on Coriolanus' character, that he does not like the commoners, and he cannot cajole the common people and speak to them in a humble manner. Coriolanus is very angry. Coriolanus tells the Senate and the other patricians that they have given a lot of power and freedom and privileges to the plebeians. And consequently, they have become very insolent and spoiled. He cheats the senators for allowing the tribunes to take the floor and assume power in a manner in which they are doing at the moment. He says the people do not deserve to be given grain like it was done in Greece. Because in Greece, this had taken place and it had led to the ruin of the Greek state. In Rome, he says the people, the plebeians, do not deserve free grain because they have not worked for it. These are people whom, even if Rome is attacked at its gate, they will all cowardly back off instead of defending Rome. He says the people do not deserve this grain for sitting in the city while it was being attacked by the enemy. In addition, they want to disrupt the smooth functioning of the state because Brutus and Sisinnius are not interested about the welfare of the Roman society, but about their personal ambitions of exercising power. He states that they have to contribute for the safety of Rome before they can receive grain free of charge. Coriolanus also condemns the tribunes for their bad leadership and the people for believing in them. Sisinnius and Brutus call on the people to confront Coriolanus so that they might throw him out of the city. They tell the plebeians that if they vote for Coriolanus, they will be selling away all of their freedoms and they will be treated worse than dogs. The people and the aediles rush in while the senators rush to Coriolanus' side, and Menenius asks everyone to stay calm during the confrontation. Sisinnius speaks to the people, trying to stir them up rather than calm down the situation, which Cominius and Menenius reproach him of. Sisinnius speaks to the people. Ironically, the senators allow him to speak and assume more authority than he has ever been given or should have in his position. Brutus and Sisinnius accuse Coriolanus of treason through his remarks and suggest that he should be taken to the Tapian rock and held off, which is the traditional punishment for traitors. Simply because Coriolanus states, and he says he will repeat what he had said, that these people, that the plebeians do not merit to be given grain for free. And if he had the opportunity, he would take all the authority that had been given to the tribunes. And Brutus and Sisinnius capitalize on this statement and accuse him of treason. And even without asking for the point of view of the patrician, they already pronounced a judgment that he will die by being pushed off the cliff of the Tapian rock. The Tapian rock was a high cliff from which people who committed very grievous offense against the state were carried and pushed down to die a very terrible death. Coriolanus resists and prefers to die fighting rather than being dragged off. Cominius and Menenius calm him down and ask him to go home while they try to patch up things with the tribunes. The senators conclude that Coriolanus has messed up things for himself, but Menenius knows that he is just a noble man, a man who is just saying what comes out of his mind. In effect, he says he is too noble to live in the world because he does not know how to flatter. Menenius confronts the tribunes who are still calling for Coriolanus to pay through a traitor's death by being thrown off the cliff. And Cominius says that Rome is a country that honors the services of its children. And even if Coriolanus has done what, he does not merit to die. Coriolanus' blood cannot be shed, for he has shed more blood to defend Rome. And all the wounds that he has had on his body are for the security of Rome. And therefore Rome cannot pay him with ingratitude. Menenius tries to convince them that Coriolanus is merely flawed, but to throw him out might mean internal war for Rome. Coriolanus, consequently, he will go and fetch Coriolanus and meet the tribunes and the people at the marketplace so that some kind of judgment can be pronounced on him according to the law. There is foreshadowing when Menenius cautions that throwing Coriolanus out of Rome may mean danger for the city's defense and security. This is true because Coriolanus turns his back against the city in the future when he is exiled. Later on in the play, when he wishes to attack it with the help of Ophidius and punish the Romans for their ingratitude towards him. There is contrast between Coriolanus' fierce response to the tribunes and his expression of longing to see Ophidius truly shows where Coriolanus' interests lie. He prefers battle than a calm life. The change of subject of conversation shows Coriolanus speaking with interest and tone, honor and longing, but changes abruptly to a tone full of scorn when the tribunes come in. There is irony when Coriolanus refers to the tribunes as the tongues of the common mouth, without knowing that they have put words into the people's mouth to withdraw their votes, play their parts as the people's tongue, and condemn him in the name of the people. There is metaphor when the plebeians are referred to as mouth and the tribunes as tongues, to confirm Coriolanus' regard of them as voices or worthless. By this assertion, they have become little disembodied parts, mouths with tongues and voices controlled by the wills of others. The tribunes exploit the people's gullibility to exercise their power and authority which they seek. The theme of rebellion and shift of power is clearly illustrated in this scene. Coriolanus' declaration that to listen to the attempt to grab away power will mean that the Senate will have to relinquish some power to the tribunes. The rebellion that is at the center of the play represents a shift in politics that will transform Rome, and more power and autonomy the people gain through the rebellion, the less likely it is that the Senate will ever be able to subdue them again. He tells the patricians that they give the people their demands out of generosity, but the people think that it is done out of fear. And for this reason, it will encourage them to carry out acts of rebellion in the future. The rift between the people and the Senate once made can never be repaired or fixed. Coriolanus knows this, although these events seem almost to be an inevitable consequence of progress and the test of democracy in the new Roman state. There is also the theme of class structure, power, and societal privileges. The play and Coriolanus push the idea that the class system is necessary and justified, and the common people need guidance rather than rights. The Jacobean ideas of absolutism holds that people need discipline and leadership because they are too weak and lacking in wisdom to make decisions for themselves. Coriolanus speaks with pointed and exacting diction about the thoughts of the people, whom he calls out for their rebellion, insolence, and sedition. It is ironic that Coriolanus can only summon up this clear and authoritative speech only when it is too late for him to help himself. It takes a very strong stand. He takes a very strong stand here as a leader, although he is doomed by the will of the people and the devices of the tribunes. There is also the use of allusion when Coriolanus talks about the people, alluding to a traitor of the Minus. The allusion makes Coriolanus' objections to Sicinius' power very clear. He calls the people Hydra, a mythical snake with many heads, and very poisonous. This allusion shows that Coriolanus does not think of the people as individuals or as human beings, as he or the other patricians are. Lastly, Coriolanus calls upon Jove, the boast of authority of the Senate, and this association makes the power of this body seem more legitimate. Menenius' pronouncement about Coriolanus' character is intended to be an overall pronouncement that conveys the sentiments of the play. Menenius' statement that his nature is too noble for the world translates into the theme of the play, the past versus progress. As a Roman hero, Coriolanus is noble, fulfills his duty, and he is truly larger than life itself in his strength and abilities. However, he lives in an era that requires compromises, flattery, politicking, and debates which Coriolanus is completely unsuitable for. His heart's his mouth, Menenius' heart, which indicates that Coriolanus cannot feel something without immediately expressing it. This conveys how noble but rash and outspoken that Coriolanus is. Also, it shows how transparent his character can be, although some consider it difficult to comprehend. Sicinius and Brutus' words during the encounter are poisonous, but lacking in truth. They call Coriolanus a viperous traitor and a disease. Their addiction is clearly inflamed by anger and guided by dislike and envy rather than truth. They are so much blinded by their dislike and jealousy and envy for him to the point that they see nothing good in Coriolanus. There is the use of metaphor. When Menenius refers to Coriolanus as he is a limb that has but a disease, this immediately counters with the danger of throwing Coriolanus out of Rome. The statement is justified. When Coriolanus rebels against Rome and the great damage that it threatens to do to the city, it will be mortal to throw him out. Probably it would have been wiser to keep him and reform him. By referring to Coriolanus as a disease, they clearly expose their intention of getting rid of him, because his presence poses a threat to the exercise of power that they so desire. Coriolanus does not hide his dislike for the people, for the group of people, and he will not hesitate to scrap away their position if he becomes a consul of Rome. Lastly, and in conclusion, Menenius uses the metaphor of Rome being the body, and his comparison of Coriolanus to be the limb shows how big a part of this state he truly is. Single-handedly, he is giving much honor to Rome, and his valor can be compared to none.